かし、ゴーダ親族会議の間、ずっと控え室にいて、誰にも知られずに何らかの工作ができる立場。
ゴーダさんを疑うのは、ゴーダさんは小休止の時、だいぶ長いことを一緒にい
Yes,
て
he
くれ
came
た。
to bring you drinks. To keep you pacified while maybe a certain someone came into the mansion and did some things.
とても6人も殺す時間的猶予があったとは思えんのや。
Of course not.
しかし、実行犯を屋敷内に手引きすることはできたかもな。
そういうことです。ゴーダさん自身はしかし実行犯を密かに屋敷内に迎え入れることは十分に可能でした。
Rudolph and Hideyoshi, stunned, looked at each other. They were family. Even a wife of the siblings would be considered family. Though the siblings hated each other, it wasn't possible that they'd hate each other's wives enough to kill them. Ava and Rosa were two of the siblings, but none of the others could have had any reason to kill Natsu, Kirie, Badler, or the young Maria. But to a servant like Goda, perhaps they were all a little more than complete strangers.
私が使用人を疑う点、まず1点目は犠牲者たちと面識があり、かついずれの現場にも争った跡がないこと。すべての現場は全く乱れていなかったのを。
それは俺も思ってたぜ。
Oh, believe me, in terms of the meta world, she did not get killed that easily.
相手の指くらいは食いちぎる女だぜ。顔見知りが犯人で油断させたところを突然って方が、確かに説明は。
それを言ったらうちのエヴァもや。何しろ武芸百般、暴漢が襲ってこないかと日々ワクワクしとる女やで。
Oh, believe me, she put up quite the fight as well.
そんなあっさりと殺されるわけがない。
She sure wasn't.
なら客間のローザさん、一人娘と一緒のローザさんが不審者相手に抵抗もせず、そしてこのことはもう一つ
大事なこと。
犯人は一人じゃないってことか。
そうや。
Ooh. Okay, if that's the logic we're going off of. I hadn't considered that, I won't lie. I was kind of starting to think that maybe Badler and Goda are in cahoots here, but if it takes two to take them out, we know that Goda had nothing to do with the murder of the six. In terms of, like, he didn't actually commit any of the murders. Like, he could have been an accomplice, sure, but, like, in terms of, like, actually committing the murder, we know for a fact through the red that he did not. So while my attention has been on Badler this whole time, is there a third accomplice? Curious. And we know that none of them are suicides. True. But what if there isn't a third person? What if there isn't a third person? What if, in one of her, fits of rage, like, I don't know how badly Maria's corpse was, messed up in the parlor. They said there was a lot of blood everywhere, so this idea is kind of far-fetched, sure, but what if Rosa goes into one of her rages, especially finding out, like, Maria snuck into the mansion to see her. She gets pissed off, right? She goes into one of her, iconic Rosa rages, alright? And just starts beating the kid, right? Just starts beating her. And smacking. Smacks turn to punches. Harder. No witnesses there to stop her. No eyes on her. She goes too far, right? But then the murderer enters the scene, takes her out. I'm just saying. It's a bit of a far-fetched idea, sure. And I'll acknowledge that. Absolutely. But I don't think that necessarily means a third accomplice. Well, a second accomplice, a third... Whatever, you get the point. I don't think it necessarily indicates a third person. It would not surprise me in the slightest to learn that Rosa had killed her daughter. I'll say that straight out. From everything I've seen thus far, it's very clear that Rosa truly does not care that much about her daughter. She can claim it all she wants. She can try to steal Nazi's line of, I'll become a demon to protect my child. Like, no. It's very clear that Rosa isn't very motherly. All right. She holds a lot of resentment towards her daughter. We all know it. Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Wouldn't surprise me one iota if I learned that Rosa had offed Maria, and that the killer had come in and taken out Rosa afterwards. That Maria was an unfortunate victim. That was not, killed by the actual murderer. Wouldn't surprise me. Anyway.
客間にはローザさんとマリアちゃんが2人おったんや。同時に殺さなかったら大騒ぎになるところやで。
Unless, like I said.
それを殺せたっちゅうことは、犯人は単独犯じゃないってことや。
ローザはマリアちゃんのことが絡めば、子連れ熊みたいに怒りっぽくなるやつだ。
Rosa was like a quick to anger mama bear, as in this mama bear got really angry at her cub and would beat the shit out of it.
仮に相手が銃で脅したとしても、ひるむようなやつじゃね
え。Unless Maria was already dead. She blacks out, goes into this rage, beats Maria to death, comes to, realizes what she's done. She's all shaken up. She can't believe what she's done. She's totally out of her wits. Isn't really paying attention to her surroundings. Boom. Killer takes their opportunity.
なるほど。ローザにギリギリまで不信感を持たれない人物。
未知の部外者が島に紛れ込んでいるという考えの方が非現実的であることが、犯人はこの島に精通した関係者、そして複数です。
The culprit is someone familiar, and there's more than one. Etika's reasoning, pointing clearly at the ones they should suspect and guard themselves against.
エリカちゃんは使用人たちを疑ってるってのか。
So she's, well, I guess.
はい、現状を推理して最も疑わしいと思います。彼らを疑う2点目がチェーンロックの密室なのです。
どうしてチェーンロックが疑わしいんだ。
もしチェーンロックのない密室だったら。
そんなの密室やない。マスターキーの1本もあれば誰だって密室にでき。
そういうことか。使用人たちが疑われないためにはチェーンでロックする必要があっ。
その通りです。チェーンをかけることで彼らは疑われずに済む。逆を返せばチェーンをかければ彼らマスターキーの所持者は疑いを免れない。
チェーンをかけて渡航するんは使用人だけっちゅうわけか。
連中の肩を持つわけじゃねえが、ならどうやってチェーン、外からチェーンをかけるなんてできるのか。
構造的に考えて不可能では。こんな話ご存知ですか。マンションの郵便ポストに配達する郵便屋さんの中にはたまに。
ああ、聞いたことある。マンションの郵便ポストは似たような部屋番号のポストが隣接しとる。ひょいっと投函したら一部屋間違ったポストだったっちゅうことも
マンションのポストは施錠されてることが間違って投函してしまったらもう取り出せなくなってしまう。
In that situation, they're supposed to tell the owner of that mailbox about their mistake. Have that person unlock the mailbox for them and retrieve the improperly delivered mail. However, the resident of that apartment would often be out. And going through that process would be a real pain. Because of that, some mailmen would make a little tool out of wire with a loop at the end, and use that to fish the mistakenly placed postcard out through the crack of the mailbox.
俺もビルの管理会社の兄ちゃんに聞いたことがあるな。たまにトイレの個室の中で酔っ払って寝込んじまうやつがいるらしくて、そういうのを連れ出すために扉の隙間から薄い金具を入れて缶抜きを外したりすることもあるらしい。
そういうことでどこの業界でも本来は開けられないものをひょいっと開けられる裏技的な同じものを 屋敷の使用人たちが持っていたとしても取り立てて
確かに。
コツさえ分かれば針金で外からチェーンをかけるのもできないわけじゃなさそうだ。確かにできないとは言い切れね
え。True, physically speaking. One couldn't say for sure that there existed absolutely no way to set and unset chain locks from the outside. Chain locks allow for the door to be opened to crack. If you stuck something through that crack, you should be able to manage it easily. It was very natural for them to think that. However, Etika knew better. Though it might be possible in reality, the Red Truth had already declared that these closed rooms could not have been constructed from the outside. In other words, it was impossible to manipulate the chain lock from the outside. And yet, Etika was guiding their thoughts with the illusion that only the servants could have constructed the closed rooms. With an air of solemnly revealing some crucial point, she steadily steered the situation in the direction she wanted. Every part of her serious face for the last few minutes had been an act. No, to put it in her words, it was a detective technique for tricking suspects.
同じ話はクラウスさんにもするつもりです。使用人たちの全員が犯人だとは。しかし犯人もしくはそれに加担する人物が含まれている可能性は濃厚です。彼らを隔離し銃を持つ人間を監視につけるべきです。
Rudolph and Hideyoshi looked at each other again. What she was saying made sense, and it sounded as though she was calmly smoking out the most suspicious people at this point in time. With her accomplished conversation techniques, Etika was cleverly grasping the initiative. Even without the detective's authority, it's possible to control human nature to this degree. What do you think, everyone? Okay. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Oh god.
魔女側のプレイヤーは
かつては魔女側になんて有利なゲームだが、いざ魔女側になってみるととんでこいつはまるで樽にナイフを刺してくパーティーゲームみたいなもんだ。
The what now? From the perspective of the human side, it feels like trying to shoot at a target hit by mist. But from the witch's viewpoint, a stray shot might hit and become fatal. Like, I kind of get the analogy, but like with the game where you stab the barrel with the mustache guy inside. Like, yeah, nah, that iconic game. I totally know what you're talking about.
ああ、まるでロシアンルーレットだ。
Yeah, okay.
それでもお前はいつか俺が気づくと信じてゲームを。
私が聞くのも、一体バトラさんは何に気づかつての私とのゲームの最後の最後で。
It was a strange question, even though in the past Beato had always been the one posing it to Battler. Now that Battler had figured it out, Beato was the one asking it to him.
正反対だな。かつてはお前だけが覚えていて。
Oh shit, yeah.
しかし今度は逆だ。俺だけが覚えていて。
不愉快でなければ
Nope.
教え
教えるのはでも教えたくない。意地悪のつもりはないんだ。ただ俺もわずかに。
奇跡
Yes, this was the single miraculous seed that Battler had left behind. If Beato could remember a certain something without being told, that would prove that Beato had truly revived. So he wouldn't tell her. It was Battler's final seed, which existed because he still couldn't abandon his hopes for Beato's revival.
バトラさんが話せないことなら、不愉快な思いをさせてしまったなら、どうかお許しください。
気にすんな。俺が未練がましいだけだ。
As she watched that sad smile, Beato's chest tightened. He was looking at her and seeing the old her. Yes, I must become my former self, for his sake. My older sister who gets burned by spiderwebs, and I who don't, must become one. Surely it's more useful to him if I go on a journey to find myself now, than if I simply watch over his game.
今回のゲームはいかがです？勝てそうですか？
勝てるつもりでいるかって。ベアとの望み通り。
終わったら世界は
さあな。ただそれを俺たちは望んだ。だからどんな結果が訪れようともそれを。
私はどうなるのでしょう。
Beto was uncertain. Even she was probably no more than a piece in this game. If the game ended, then would she, one who had been born out of the game's rules, disappear?
ゲームはだが俺はもうだからお前をゲーム版の外へ連れ出せれ。それがお前の望みだ。
私の
それ以上は内緒だ。お前がそれらを自力で思い出してくれる奇跡を。
After smiling bitterly for just a second, Badler laughed and told her not to worry. Apparently, it was best if she avoid talking to Badler about her previous self.
じゃあ俺はちょっと対戦相手殿の様子を見てくる。
Fun.
あのバカが次はどんなへりくつを言い出すか楽しみだぜ。
かつてのバトラさんもそれにかけてはなかなか。私としましては第2のゲームの第1の番に対する。
それは俺の黒歴史最高。早めに忘れてくれ。
The small bombs.
はい、そのように努めます。
Badler became a cloud of gold butterflies and disappeared into the darkness. Beto kept bowing until he disappeared completely. To fill in his place, a single gold butterfly appeared and became Beto the Elder.
呼んだか、我が妹よ。
はい、あなたのことを、そして本当の私至りたいんです。
無論、わらわもそのために、わらわたちは互いのすべて。しかし、一向にわらどうやれば一なる自分となれるのか、理解が。
どうやれば。
わらわはゼパルとフルフルの試練に期待している。
勝者に与えるという魔法の奇跡のことですね。
その魔法の奇跡とはすなわち一なる自分となれることではないだろうか。わらわは本来の姿に至れる。バトラも万々歳で、ほう、三方丸く収まるというものだ。
やはり
他の二組に負けるわけにはいかんということだな。
ジョージさんとシャノンさん、ジェシカさんとカノンさん、
Yes, those are the four involved.
彼らを踏みにじってしか私は。
条件は同じだ。他の誰かが恋を成就させれば、そなたを含めた二組が踏みに。
なぜこんなにいびつな天秤。
いびつとは。
恋は得るものならばそれらが天秤の両端に並ぶ。しかし私たちの試練の天秤は3つの皿が並び、1人の勝利のために。
さあな。頼りないぞ妹よ。敗者のことを考えるよりバトラの期待に応えたいという気持ちを優先できぬようでは。
そうですね。私も他の皆さんには本当に申し訳ないですが、みんな
If I
恨み
do
っこな
lose,
しです。
I'll give my strongest blessings to whichever of the lovers wins. So I'll fight with all my heart and soul, so that I have no lingering regrets, and I'll win that miracle of magic. I bet. Let's see it.
どうだったの？第一の番をめぐっての赤と青の攻防は。まずは小手調べでした。バトラもなかなか張り切っているようです。
She had just come back from a fierce fight with Badler, where she had gathered information by making demands for the red text. It was the old, familiar kind of fight, reminiscent of when the red text had first appeared, or when use of the blue text was first permitted.
得られた成果は？まず密室を構築したのはいずれも犠牲者たちを、そして それをクラウスたちが破るまでの間、さらにその間、外部からいかなる方法でも干渉ができないことを確認しました。
Attica reported this proudly as though it had been a great battle, but Berncastle looked bored as she listened. After looking at her blankly for a second, Lambda Delta spoke her opinions frankly.
ちょっと待ちなさいよ。それってつまり密室殺人は完璧ってだけ。
The victims had sealed the closed rooms themselves, and the closed rooms had been preserved until Kraus and the others broke them open. And no one had been inside the closed rooms except for the victims. In Kraus's group, the ones who had broken the rooms open were not the culprits. In this way, she had managed to win several little red truths like these. Normally, simply collecting such vital information would have been enough. However, the Master Witch, tired with boredom, had expected a much more flashy, argument-winning victory instead of this bland result.
しかしながら、私は今回探偵権限を持たない
Ooh,
の
now
で、
you're gonna start making
検視を誤認す
excuses
る
and
可能性がありま
backtracking?
した。
Oh, girl, you are just. Oh, no. Ooh, yikes. Ooh.
ですので、仮死状態を生み出す薬などで私の検
プルプルピコピオ。
違います。例えばインシュリンとか基地の薬物でも一時的に仮死状態を作ることは不可能では。バトラからは赤き真実、つまりは私の青き真、まずは勝利かと。
To sum up Attica's report, all she had done was listen to the red truths Badler had wanted her to hear. Only the information Badler had wanted out there had been shown, and she hadn't been able to strike at any weak points. She was like a kid who had gone out shopping, then forgotten her job and only bought candy. However, this was all the players on the human side could do. Without the detective proclamation, she could only fight by collecting dull bits of information like that. However, her master had been expecting more than that sort of dull fight. So, she had tried to give her report energetically, to make it seem as though she were in a superior position. But no matter how much she tried, the cold expression of her master remained merciless.
青き真実がバカバカしくて切り返さなかっただけでしょ。自称名探偵が大した推理だこと。
私なりには死ですが、探偵権限がないので、その。
何よ。あんたが自分で探偵宣言を前回の汚名を返上するためにレートを上げたいとか言い出す。
それ。
何？探偵権限がないとバトラには勝てないってそういうの。
そんなことはあのような無能探偵権限などなくても簡単だ。そのこれまでと戦い方がちょっとだけ違って。
As far as humans go, Attica was quite talented. Her knowledge and powers of memory and insight were ahead of the pack, and it was likely that no human was more well suited as a detective than her. However, no matter how much of an advantage she might have had over other people, that didn't matter in the witch's game. In the witch's game, it's either 0 or 100. In other words, everything is either the red truth or it isn't. If a normal human was worth a 10, her exceptional power would probably rate a 99. However, it can never be 100. Since it wasn't 100, it couldn't be absolutely certain. So it didn't count as red truth. For example, the examination of the corpses that Attica had worried over in the fight just now. If she had performed it with the detective's authority, she could have said with 100% certainty whether they were alive or dead. However, without the detective proclamation, it was 99%. There was a 1% chance that she'd made a mistake, and that overturned the foundation of the examination. Attica had gained the detective's authority and had become the Witch of Truth because Berncastle had supplemented her talent of 99 with an additional 1. Simply because Berncastle wouldn't give her that 1, in the world of witches, Attica's 99 was treated exactly the same as a 0. She couldn't even use her great assistant Delano without the power of 100. When working under Attica, who had lost the detective's authority, Delano's red longsword lost its power. Delano was also irritated that she couldn't provide full assistance. She had tried several times to convince Attica to use the detective proclamation, but Attica had stubbornly refused each time.